Hello everyone, and welcome back to Randomizer Night. Tonight we'll be having Sabera on here, and she'll be showing us the recently released Axiom Verge randomizer, and I'll be watching and just generally commenting on things. So hello, Sabera.
Hi everyone, I'm Sabera. Nice to meet and see you all. Thank you all for coming out tonight. So one thing that I do want to mention is that the Axiom Verge randomizer, this is an official inbuilt randomizer. It is currently in public beta. It is only available on the Steam and Epic Game Store releases of the game so far, though it will be coming when it hits official release to every platform that is still supported for Axiom Verge. So no Wii U releases and no PS Vita releases for the randomizer. Sorry about that. But the rest of the releases will be getting the randomizer. So there may be some rough edges still. Do want to make note of that. I also want to give a real big shout out to the community developers who actually built this official randomizer. Tom Happ saw what had been done with the community mod randomizer and liked it so much that he basically solicited folks from the community to help build this into the game, which was just really, really awesome. Both of him and of the community devs who worked on this for free, basically, to bring this to a much wider audience and make it more accessible for everyone. Randomizer mode. So the Axiom Verge has an inbuilt speedrun mode that has a built-in game timer and built-in splits, and that is preserved in speedrun mode. There are a number of different options here, and one of them is actually to present those boss splits. There are a couple of just kind of like UI things about whether or not you show the seed and where it appears. In a future version of this, when this is like out for release, it will support crowd control, so that's something fun to look forward to. And for newer players, there is actually a UI display to show you what percentage of items and map exploration you've covered in the current area that you're in. It features the ability to randomly generate seeds as well as to input custom seeds, which is pretty normal. You can choose gameplay difficulty separately from the randomizer logic, and there are basically 3 modes of logic that are available. There's not a large quantity of flags like you might find in like the Zelda 3 randomizer, for example. Instead, there are 3 progression modes: default, advanced, and masochist. The default progression mode is for people who are kind of new to the game and new to randomizers in general. And so the logic, item placement logic, makes the assumption that you can only get places with what the game intended you to reach, to use to reach those areas. So the game kind of has an intended sequence that you gather items, and every area is kind of designed for you to have some certain set of powers in order to reach it. That's not always the set of powers that you, strictly speaking, need to reach it, but default assumes that it is. Advanced is for speedrunners, people who are familiar with some of the different ways that you can get around the game. And so it places things in ways that you would know how to get to if you were speedrunning Axiom Verge. Masochist mode takes that one step further and assumes that you know how to run low percent. The big difference between default, advanced, and masochist is what set of items it assumes you need in order to finish the game. In masochist mode, there are exactly 3 items that you need to pick up before the randomizer stops doing any sort of validation checks on where things are, except that an item can't be locked behind itself. So like your drone can't be locked in a place that you would need drone to reach. But everything else is kind of just fair game. There's no rhyme or reason to any of the other placements at that point. And it also assumes that you are able to perform a trick that is specifically required in the low percent version of the speedrun. And so it may land an item placement somewhere that you can't reach if you don't know low percent. I do know low percent. I'm going to go ahead and run a masochist seed for you tonight. I'm going to roll just a completely random one, unless anybody in the audience has anything tonight, a specific seed that they'd like to see. And otherwise, I'm just going to go ahead and get started on this. What do you think, Garbi?
Yeah, that sounds good, yeah.
All right, let's go ahead and start. So, as you can see up above my mini-map and my weapon HUD in the upper right-hand corner, there's a 0% and a 0%. That's map item coverage and map coverage from left to right. I moved rooms, my map coverage goes up. That's only for the current area that we're in. It's not for all of the areas, so it will things will reset to 0 as we move from one area to another. Now, normally in the starting position, I would find our red gun, a simple bullet firing gun called the Axiom Disruptor. Instead, I found this kind of forked weapon called Vorange. It is a ranged weapon. It has what is known as the gun attribute. That is the differentiator between weapons that are long range and weapons that are short range. There are some weapons in the game that are short range. They only fire very close to Trace's body in a limited distance. And so some of them are not usable for certain kinds of boss fights. They can be kind of problematic for certain things. Masochist mode doesn't particularly care about that attribute. It's not used for placement, but in the default logic, in this first area, you're guaranteed to find something that has the gun attribute on it that is long range to make sure that you're able to fight bosses effectively, because it's not assumed that you will be able to kind of pull fancy tricks in order to conquer those challenges. So I'm moving into some of the normal vanilla places that we check for items. So normally after you get your first weapon, you would come here and check for what is called a Nova type weapon. So the thing that I found here is called Hypoatomizer. You see how it fires these little spurs off of itself as I shoot it? That enables me to hit switches in places that I wouldn't necessarily be able to otherwise. And even though the weapon that I have before, Vorange, has those forks on it, it is not able to hit these switches in the same way that something like, it's even a little bit hard with the Hypoatomizer, but you see I was able to hit that switch. I wouldn't have been able to hit that with the first weapon that I picked up. So that actually unlocks some areas for checking that I wasn't able to check before. And so I knew that I had to go check for a weapon like that up there because there wasn't really anywhere else that I could go with the one weapon that I had available. Now that I have this available, there are a couple other places that I can check. I'm going to go ahead and check those. The first area is a little bit restrictive in this respect. So there's really only so much that you can do with it. Oh, there we go. I had remapped my controller a little bit, but I switched controllers recently and I haven't remapped the new one. So one of the buttons that I was trying to use to switch weapons is not mapped to the correct thing. I had to press a different button instead. So this first area, Arabu, usually in vanilla, there's a boss that you have to fight and that gives you a drill. This is a power node fragment. I'm going to pick this up because in Masochist mode, you are much less likely to find full nodes of various kinds. So any power-ups that I can get, even if I need a bunch of them to actually constitute a power-up, are really welcome. If I drop down here, oops, I dropped a little too far. I'm gonna go over here and check kind of in the boss area. So one thing, yeah, there we go. So there are two items back here, and I'm gonna take a quick peek at one of them and see if it's something I care about. Oh yes, that is something that I super care about. I also know that an item that I can use to drill through blocks is now behind the first boss. So I'm gonna go ahead and fight that first boss. And probably with this weapon. And so here we are, fighting the first boss. Now, depending on your item placements, you might actually not need to fight this boss. It might be possible to just, if you get the drill early, before you hit the boss location, you might just be able to go around from underneath. And so then, in some cases, it might just be completely possible to skip this guy. But this is Zetter. Farewell, Zetter. We hardly knew ye. And here, I will either find a drill or I will find a drone. I found a drill. And so this is an item that I will be able to use to move along, to mosey on out. And I can hit that switch with the Vorange, but that's not true of all of the switches that are meant to be hit with other weapons. So this is the Address Disruptor 2. It is the stronger version of my glitch gun. Some of the upgrades that you get don't work without the items that they're intended for, but the Address Disruptor 2 actually is like, it works just on its own. So it's actually kind of a nice thing to pick up at this point. In some seeds, you'll get things like an upgrade for the drone when you don't have the drone yet, and those are actually useless until you pick up a drone, because they don't give you the drone to upgrade it. So that can be a little bit wonky. We're going to go ahead and drill ourselves out of this first area. There are still items in this area. We're not going to be able to get any of the rest of them right now with the tools that we have. Okay, there's one more item that we can get with the tools that we have, and that might unlock something. We are going to take a peek at an item over here. I can't get it, but it's not anything important. And with that, we are going to make our way toward the end of this area and see what we've got. Okay, so here we've got the high jump. The high jump enables us to go get that item that I just took a peek at, but because it's not an important item, we are going to skip it and just move on to the next area. Getting the high jump kind of early in the game can be a little bit weird. It unlocks places that you can look for things. Oh, and actually, I'm going to save my game because normally I would have more health here and I would do more damage already, but I don't because we didn't find any of those upgrades. So I'm going to be a little bit cautious in that respect. So we'll go ahead and come here. There is an item. So I run the 100% category in this game, which is, I think, maybe normal for randomizer players. But normally you would never check this item at this point in the game. But in randomizer, it could be something important. In vanilla, it's always a health node. So I don't. Oh yeah, I don't have the I don't have a weapon that I can use to complete that check. So we're gonna skip that. So we'll go around here. We're gonna take a peek at something that we're not gonna be able to pick up just yet because it requires a type of weapon we don't have that is going to be made available to us pretty soon. That's a health node. We actually want that. We're gonna want to come back for that. Ooh, little low on health. We'll just try to be careful here. So one of the features that's nice about the randomizer that I don't think that I've talked about yet is when you pick up an item, the randomizer in randomizer mode, you will see what that item is for a few seconds after you pick it up. And part of the reason behind that is that I'm actually going to go ahead and save my game over here. Part of the reason behind that is that there are a couple of items that you can't see when you pick them up. They're hidden behind a background. Or a foreground tile, rather. And so in vanilla, we know what those are because we just know their locations, but in rando, you wouldn't, there's no reason that you would know that. Flamethrower. Okay, so this is the only weapon that I will use for the rest of the game. The flamethrower is amazing. It is medium range, it goes through walls, it deals damage every frame that it's out. And the only reason why I would use any other weapon is because there is one weapon where if I find it, it opens up a check. It makes a check easy that would otherwise be difficult. So we're going to go ahead and we are going to grab that health node that was back here. And then I'm going to save warp back to that save point that I was at. Normally I wouldn't save warp in rando because it is a little bit of a speed strat, but I want to make sure that we have time to fit everything in. So I'm going to go ahead and back to title and back here. Hey Ken, good to see you. Hey Angie, thanks for coming by tonight. Really appreciate it. The greatest of primordial fires, yes. There is, it's a reference to some lore about this weapon, which I think is maybe the only weapon in the game that has lore. Hey, Sealy, good to see you. Hope you're having a good night tonight. Oh, we know where our grappling hook is now. That is one of the three items that the game considers us to need in order to complete it in masochist mode. So we are definitely going to be coming back for that. Right now, we don't have a way to access it. But what we do have is all of the tools that we need in order to skip the second boss. So we're not going to go and fight Tellal. We do not care about Tellal. We will never see Tellal in this run unless I decide to be vindictive. And I'm like honestly feeling kind of merciful. So we're gonna leave Tellal as he is for forever. Oh, up here we have the reverse slicer. The reverse slicer is a weapon that will travel through walls, but it is also the worst weapon in the game. It flies a short way in front of you and then turns around and flies behind you, and then disappears. It does not do very much damage. It does not move very quickly. You cannot fire that many of its bullets at the same time, but it is there. So because we have a glitch gun, we can glitch those bubbles and use them as platforms to get past that area. And that enables us to come here. Oh, thank God, we got a power node. This will increase the damage that we output. Hey, Allie, good to see you. Thanks for coming out tonight. And I'm going to take another quick save right here because this is a good area to be able to come back to. Now, a thing that I haven't talked about at all is a special thing for Randomizer is this option respawn at start. It takes you all the way back to the initial spawn point of the game, and that is really useful if you ever get stuck or if you just want to fast travel to check things. But it doesn't update your save point to the first save in the game. It just moves you back there, so you actually can save somewhere, immediately teleport back to the first area of the game, check something, and then save warp, just like save quit and go back to wherever you checkpointed yourself, which is really nice. Okay, this is, it turns out, not anything particularly important, but I will take it. I'll take it. Wow. I bonked myself a little bit. Oh no. No. Yeah, thank you. I wanted to catch that bubble. So, like, at this point in the game, though, what you're able to check and what you might have to backtrack for has already dramatically veered off course from vanilla. Like, whether or not you're able to go under the boss or not, whether or not you're able to go... There's a whole area under me. Like, you can see that there's tiles under me that I could be exploring. Did I pick up something that lets me pass through walls? If so, I can check if if there's an item down there, potentially. So there's a lot of optionality depending on what you have and what you don't. I know for a fact that the grappling hook is locked behind a requirement that I be able to pass through walls because we found it earlier in a shaft. And speak of the devil, here is an item that allows me to pass through walls, which means I can go back and get the grappling hook, which is the thing that I am going to do. I'm going to really quickly check an item that's in here because I can. This is another power node fragment, and then I'm going to go ahead and save warp back. You can pick your nodes and you can pick your friends, but you can't pick your friends' nodes. Thanks, Ken. That's a real dad joke right there. You are a dad, so very appropriate. That 3-shot one is your new least favorite? Oh, the multi-disruptor. Oh yeah, the multi-disruptor is actually probably the worst weapon in the game. And it's available to you in vanilla, like basically right at the start. Which is kind of funny. Right.
Which one's the multi-disruptor? Is that like the one that you can shoot, then it moves into like 6 different ones?
So the multi-disruptor shoots 3 small bullets in short range in front of you. It's basically like a shotgun. It's a Bionic Commando reference, essentially. In Bionic Commando, you get a shotgun, and that's what the shotgun does. It shoots 3 shots in front of you at close range.
Yeah, I got that far, but I didn't really find that too useful from what I played so far.
It's not useful. It's a real throwaway weapon. So this was actually one of the, it's how you console yourself when you find node fragments, is that it's not, at least it's not the, oh no, by telling dad jokes, I see. I'm gonna pick up some of that health. So the thing about the multi-disruptor, or the thing about weapons in this game in general, is that there's a big variety of them, but a lot of them are not that useful, unfortunately. I'm trying to think about what the best way to do checks here is. There's basically 3 easy checks, one of which is out of logic, and I'm going to do it anyway, but I want to make sure that when I invariably soft block myself by doing it, and have to save quit or respawn at start, that I don't lock myself out of the other check, or that I don't have to like run back to the other check. So this is kind of the like puzzling decision making of this is, okay, I'm going to go ahead and grab this node, and then we're going to go ahead and clip ourselves somewhere that we're not supposed to be. So Masochist mode takes into account some of the glitches that are available in the game that we use in speedrunning, but there are a number of them that aren't really taken into account. So you can clip yourself through a floor with a grappling hook, and this can be used to move you into unloaded rooms. Using the grappling hook to clip yourself into the floor, taken into account. Using the grappling hook to move yourself into an unloaded room, not taken into account. So
wow.
Yeah, so I just clipped myself through the floor, and now I'm here, and of course this is actually not a very interesting item, unfortunately. But so we're going to do that, and we're going to go ahead and we're going to respawn at start. So now we are here. I don't have a drone. There's not a whole lot else that I can check here at the moment. But now that I have the grappling hook, I actually have the world wide open to me. The grappling hook can be used to get you lots of different places. So there are a number of things that are available. Also, I have Address Disruptor 2, which means that we can check a place that I would be able to go with this kit in vanilla, which I think is actually the next place that we're going to go. So the next area that we're going to is called Ukana. It is normally where you find the trench coat, which is your first iteration of the dash. So the lab coat, the white coat that I have right now, enables you to walk through walls, but you have to be on the ground and you have to press against them for several seconds to go through them. And so this area that I'm in right now is the place where I would find the next coat upgrade. And so really quickly, we're going to go ahead and check. We're going to take a quick peek at that item. And I can't actually reach this one. It's not important. But so normally, so in vanilla, in the old version of vanilla, those items wouldn't appear. Because currently we're in a hallucination version of this area, and we have to go through the hallucination sequence before we get to the real version of the area. And so normally, none of the items that are present in the real version of the area would appear in this area at all. And so you just wouldn't be able to get them. But because we wanted Randomizer to, or not we, but because the team wanted Randomizer to have a little bit extra oomph to it, they put those in there. Oh, the Quantum Variegator. That's also a bad weapon. They added those items in the hallucination sequence, but thighs for science. As soon as I get the passcode tool, assuming I get the passcode tool, I will provide, well, not thighs. Actually, I'm going to show some of the other cosmetics. So those items are there, but in all of the releases that have the randomizer, those items are actually there in vanilla as well, which is a change for vanilla, which is actually going to change the speedrun routes, or might change the speedrun routes, because previously you couldn't get trench coat during this sequence, but now you can. which is really interesting because it leaves open the question, is it faster to get Trenchcoat before you finish the hallucination sequence, or is it faster to finish the hallucination sequence and then go back for it? And nobody has really kind of bothered to find out yet. But it's there. It's waiting for us to route in and see if it's better, if it's faster. And it affects. It only really affects any percent. It doesn't affect no major glitches, because in order to get to that area in the hallucination sequence, you have to be able to use grappling glitches, which we don't use in no major glitches because they're not allowed. And we also just kind of generally don't use the grappling hook in no major glitches. But so this is the area, right? So normally you would actually need Trenchcoat to get in there in the first place, but if you have a grappling hook, you can just do that. So this is normally where I would find Trenchcoat. That place that I found a health node fragment is normally where I would find Trenchcoat. And then down here, there's another health node fragment. There would normally be a power node fragment, which is only something that not something that you would obtain in any of the any percent runs. You only go after it in 100%. But for here, it's randomizer, so we're definitely checking both of them. And then we are basically just going to lab code ourselves out here and proceed with the rest of this area. So let's see. I wonder if it's possible. I don't think that it is. But actually, it might be. Oh, yikes. I am in a bad position, health-wise. Yeah, my hubris got me murdered. So normally you're not supposed to be able to leave this area until you finish the hallucination sequence, because you pick up the trench coat, right? And that is the thing that enables you to leave this area. But grappling hook glitches, we can just swing through the wall there. One tile walls like that, no problem. And so what I'm going to do is actually go ahead and I was close to the end of the area, so I'm just going to go ahead and assuming that I can pull a glitch off, I'm just going to grapple myself to the top. There we go. So this is going to zoom me all the way to the top of the map. It's going to put me in a room that's not supposed to exist. And there's a door on the left side of it, and if I were to walk out that door, and actually I might not be able to in this build anymore, the game would crash because there's no door there, or there's no room for it to load into. So I'm going to try to line myself up pixel perfect and do a grapple clip without being able to see. There we go, got it. And that's going to clip me into the save room right before the boss in this area. So now I'm in the room right before the boss in this area.
Nice.
Here, and I am actually going to go ahead and save my game over here really quickly, instead of binding myself to the bottom of the area, because I do want to see. I'm actually curious. I'm gonna experiment a little bit on y'all's dime, because I never actually thought of this before. But so in this, to the right of this room in vanilla, there is an item, and I think it might be possible for me to clip myself into the floor here and then print screen my way to the other side of the room, which print screen buffering is another trick that we use when executing glitches. No, I got myself stuck in a weird place. All right, hold on a second. Sorry about that. I'll have to play with that later, but it's an interesting idea because that floor is actually a little bit hollow. So there is a little room to the place where the little like warped faces actually exist, there's actually empty space there. So theoretically, you can actually clip into there and walk through. So this is the vision boss. This is the quote-unquote boss of the hallucination sequence. I don't control this boss. I don't control Trace during this fight. I control the boss. Trace can't die. This boss deals 0 damage. It only does knockback with its attacks. And basically I just wait for Trace to wipe out its hit points. And knocking Trace over there makes the ending animation of this take a little bit less time. So this is kind of fun in that respect, is that you can play with that boss a little bit. So now we're in the real version of the area, and that means that there are a lot more checks that are available to me. There's one just for free right here, but there's also several others in other parts of the area. So for instance, in this segment, I can go ahead and grapple my way up to the top here and find that there is a weapon up there that I don't care about. That's Heat Seeker. It does, it's not a bad weapon if you don't have the flamethrower already, or if you're not very good at aiming, because as its name implies, it will try to chase down enemies. But it doesn't do a ton of damage. The other thing that's actually nice about it is that it is one of the weapons that has built-in turbo. If you just hold down the fire button, it will just keep firing. This is also true of the flamethrower. The flamethrower, I mean, it's not exactly turbo because it's just always on, but like I don't have to mash to use the flamethrower, which is really nice. Okay. So let's see, what else can we check in this area that we weren't already able to check? We can't check the thing that's over there right now because we don't have a way to get into the floor. Normally you check that area with drone, which is the thing that you use to get through that tunnel. It's not like normally you don't clip in there and print screen. That's not that's a little bit outside the usual rules of things. All right. Oh, you have health for me. Okay, we already checked the stuff that was in Brown Coat Room. I think we've actually already checked everything that's here that we can check, except... Oh, no, wait, there's one more thing. Well, actually, there's a couple more things. Actually, can I get in there? I might be able to. No, I can't. I can't extend long enough to swing through that wall. So Randomizer, you could hear them. I don't know what you're responding to, Ken, unfortunately. I've already forgotten what I said. I'm gonna go ahead and bind this right here. So there is one more check that I can do in this area because I know how to do grapple glitches. And again, the game doesn't take those into account, so it's out of logic. It's not something it would expect me to find. So it's not going to be like one of the most important things like red coat, which is the ultimate coat upgrade. Now that we're in the real version of this area, I can just walk out the left-hand door. Oh, at the end. Oh, yes, you can't see the repair drones, but you can hear them. So normally there's supposed to be a little drone that walks out and drags Trace off at the end of that hallucination fight. That's not there because we didn't turn those drones on yet. But that's okay. We can still hear them doing their job even though they're invisible. So over on the other side of this... Oh, actually, so there's this little slug. So in the mod version of this that we used to use, it was not possible to randomize the item that was inside of that slug. It was hard-coded to be a health node fragment. But now the official randomizer is actually able to randomize what that item is. So you glitch that slug and there's a little item inside of it, and so that can be accounted for in the logic. So that actually could have been something important. It could have been red coat or the drone or something like that, because it was reachable with all of the items that I had. Like there are copies of that enemy that are reachable with the items that I have, and I have the appropriate stuff to glitch it and make it give me the item, give me the precious, I've kind of exhausted what we can do in this area. We are actually going to go back to Absu, the area that we were in before I went back for the grappling hook and then zipped to the start, because oftentimes there's useful stuff in there, even if it's not, even though the placement is not limited to all of the usual suspects that you would find in vanilla. There are still lots of candidates for checks, and so there's Absu is one of the largest areas in the game, so it's actually a really good place to look for items, especially once you are able to access all of the areas. And at this point, I don't think that there are very many places in Absu that we can't go, so we're just gonna head back there and see what it has in store for us. The first place that we're gonna go actually is a fun little room called Spider Heck. And the reason that we go there is because there's an item in it, but unfortunately it is full of spiders. This is why we call it Spider Heck, because we see the spiders and we go, heck. Okay, so that syringe is not actually that useful of an item. When Trace's health is full, it will spawn tentacles, and those tentacles will shoot bullets that do small amounts of damage, and they go away as soon as you lose any health whatsoever. So, we checked that. It didn't exactly pan out the way that we'd hoped. That's okay. This pretty much takes us back to the area that we were at before we went back for the grappling hook. We're pretty close at this point to there. I'm actually going to go back to the save point over here because I'm not 100% sure that this is possible, but I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure that we can go to the area that is down and to the right. That area that I showed you before that we couldn't go. So we have a place, so we have a way to walk through walls, even if we didn't have a grappling hook, and that's great. We also have a grappling hook, which is faster than holding against a wall for several seconds, so that's nice. And additionally, we have the ability basically to just swing our way in through here. So we're not actually supposed to be able to reach that quite yet. We're supposed to require the dash. These are, I'm gonna die, aren't I? I am gonna die. Yeah. Probably could have found a better way to do that. So you're supposed to do that with once you have trench coat and maybe even drone teleport. Though actually no, once you have grapple you can get in there. The other thing that's useful about the various coats that you get is that coats provide you with damage reduction, and the more coats you have, like you just put one coat on top of another coat, and so you get more damage reduction, because that's how coats work. The more layers of coats you're wearing, the less damage you take. So normally you would have more damage reduction here, and actually if I do this, then I can switch between these. Oh shoot, that one dropped health too. True in my experience. All right, we're gonna stop trying to check that for right now. Something important could technically be there. Grappling through walls like that is something that the logic does take into account in masochist mode, or at least it's something it will take into account in the final release of the game. So there are some there's some opportunity for that kind of meanness to occur. But we're gonna move on for right now anyway, and see if there's maybe anything else that we can check. So I can take a peek at an item here. This is a peek. That's actually a health node. I'm gonna want to come back for that at some point. But we can't get it because we don't have a drone. Unfortunately, unless you have either red coat or the drone, that item is off limits. No, actually, I should glitch these so that I can blow up one and proceed safely through the entire room. Yeah, this mode, the mode that I'm running in, there's the other syringe. There's actually two of them. Each one that you get gives you 2 tentacles. One of them gives you top tentacles and the other gives you bottom tentacles. So then I guess you can switch tentacles. No, you get all of them at the same time. It's not a switch. But so I think one of the things that's a little difficult about this particular mode of the randomizer is that I think it could be made clearer to people that this is that masochist mode is really mean. It's really mean to you. There are lots of things that it can do in terms of placement that are just absolutely brutal, that it wouldn't do in even advanced logic, in terms of what it makes available to you and expects you to be able to do, because it doesn't take into account at all how difficult the enemies are in an area and how much damage reduction you might have available to you, or how many health nodes. It's just all right, this is for low percent runners, so you better be able to do the most difficult areas of the game with 200 health, which is your starting health. It's mean. And I think that's something that I think people probably would need to take into account when deciding what mode to do. I do also, there is actually one thing that I wish there was room for in the options menus that there really isn't due to UI clutter, and that is, what did we pick up here? Shards. This is a fun weapon. This is another auto turbo weapon. It's not that useful, but it's kind of fun, so we'll use it for a little while. Also, the shards actually stick into walls and enemies for a little bit before disappearing. These are little icicles, so they're melting, which is really cool. So the trick that masochist mode could potentially require of me, that not everyone can do, is a very particular jump that makes it so that you don't need drone teleport to finish the game. So you get a remote drone, and that allows you to fire out a drone that you control for a little while instead of Trace, who is our protagonist. And the drone teleport allows you to, instead of recalling it to where Trace is sitting, swap Trace into whatever position the drone is in. And so that allows you to get places that you couldn't normally get, because you can kind of launch the drone somewhere and then switch places with it. And hey, that's cool. But a very small percentage of masochist seeds actually require you to do that trick, because the only time that that's absolutely necessary to be able to do is if the drone teleport is placed in the absolute last possible item placement in the game. That is one item location out of 115. And it doesn't specially weight the drone teleport to either be there or not be there. So I wish that there was a flag that you could turn on that says, okay, well, when you're randomizing this in masochist mode, force the drone teleport to be in that location and randomize everything else around that. But you can't do that, unfortunately. There's no option for that, and it's been said basically that it's not gonna happen. So we'll basically need a mod for the official randomizer that was made to replace the mod.
Oh wow! Wow.
If we wanted that. I mean, I'm kind of interested in something like that additionally, because that would allow for things like flag sets, which are not a thing that this randomizer provides, and part of that is intentionally keeping the experience accessible for people. Ethan calls it the fish gun and screams "fish" when firing shards. Fish gun! Fish gun! I love it. But yeah, so I mean, it's one of those things, right? Like, having played other randomizers and like playing free enterprise now, I have a real appreciation for the level of like customizability that having something like flag sets provides. But at the same time, right, like, this was a volunteer effort by 3 people in like over the course of a year, I guess, to integrate something into the official version of the game. And that means that every representation that's made into this game in terms of like the UI and what's available in it is something that is like on the part of Tom Happ and like Tom Happ Games. So it's a whole different scenario than like a third-party program modifying a Super Nintendo game, right?
Yeah.
Like, there are big differences in the considerations. So I really want to stress how amazing it is that we get this inside the game and that we get to do things with it that we could never have done with the mod. And also, like, the changes that were made to support the code for the inbuilt randomizer open the door for us to use those code paths to do things that we couldn't have done in the mod in a new mod. That's amazing. Like, there's just a whole bunch of stuff that we couldn't do before that we can do now, that's available. And I think that's really great, and the efforts. So there are 3 community members, all of whom have been part of the Axiom Verge speedrunning community for a long time, longer than me, all of them, who were developers who worked on this. Video Game Roulette, Leamy, and Willow the Whisper SR. And all of them are really just like wonderful people, like great to hang out with, glad to be in community with them in the first place. And also they've just like really worked their butts off on this. There are a whole bunch of features that are coming that are also helpful for speedrunners. So it's not in the build that I'm working on right now, but the passcode tool in this version of the game, or in one of the builds, actually provides access to a debug tool that you can use to place yourself kind of anywhere in the world. Just like teleport yourself around. It allows you to save and load states for practicing rooms, allows you to give and take items away from yourself, allows you to unlock the camera so that you can see what's going on when you're clipped out into an unloaded room or performing glitches. Just like lots of really cool stuff that we were using third-party programs beforehand to achieve some of these effects, and they had some instability, they had some limitations to them that were not super ideal. And so, you know, the ability to kind of have those in the game and not have to like constantly alt tab out is wonderful. They added a few new cosmetic things. So one of the things that people may know, the removal of the metallic ping. Yes. So one of the things that is part of this randomizer is the turning off of the metallic ping when you hit an enemy in a spot where it's invulnerable, and especially with stuff with the flamethrower that like just deals damage wherever it is and passes through everything it touches. It is not stopped by walls. It is not stopped by enemies that don't take damage from it, and it deals damage literally every frame. And so you would hear this just like grinding noise every frame that it was out. It was really painful to listen to. It is in vanilla, it's really painful to listen to. So the fact that we don't have that. Also, Sealy, yes, I am actually kind of hopeful that some of the things from a hypothetical mod of the official randomizer become things that then get integrated into the official randomizer and then prompt more mods. So that is or increase modding potential. So that's actually not far from the truth.
That'd be amazing.
It would be pretty wonderful, right? Like I think it's really cool how keyed into the community Tom has been, and how like excited he is about the same things that we are. Like he loves you know, I ran any percent for this at AGDQ, and like at the last possible minute, Tom was like able to make time to come join and commentate and just like be available to answer questions. Axiom Verge 2 will be an original code base, but Axiom Verge 3 will be a mod from the Axiom Verge randomizer. That's, ooh, hello, Drone.
Yeah.
I like Drone. You like Drone. We all like Drone. Drone actually opens up lots of new checks for me, including a bunch of stuff that's out of logic. So I'm gonna try to show some fun stuff. But first, there's a really quick check here that I want to do. Just the amount of support that the speedrunning community has gotten, like the timer in this game is really like it does load removal. When we save quit, it does load time removal for some of that, because the timer will start to run again when you enter the menu, but it will remove all of the time from the time that you saved until you exit or enter the speedrun menu again to continue timing. So one thing that is like makes in-game time not reliable for RTA timing, but that's not what we use for this game anyway, is that there is a weapon in this game. It's kind of the Axiom Verge version of the power bomb. It's called the address bomb. When you fire it, it actually slows down the in-game timer. It slows down the entire world, including the in-game timer. And this has a couple of kind of interesting effects, but since we time via in-game time, you can get a lower time by using the address bomb at very specific moments when its effect would be paused, but that like something is able to happen at normal speed. There's only one thing where this is the case, which is entering passcodes, and the only category in which that's important is 100%, but it is something that we use in 100% to kind of abuse the time clock, which is a little bit funny. But the fact that we have that, and not only that we have that, but it has boss splits for us. Like, people do use splitters for a splitter with load removal that is synchronized to in-game time. Like, it reads the in-game timer to correct itself. To just like to measure like item collection and stuff like that, so for like finer grained splits. But the fact that you actually have splits built into the game for you just from the get-go is wonderful, right? Like, that's a big deal, and it was something that he took extra time to put into the game after the fact. Like, it wasn't in 1.0. Speedrun mode is not going to be in the initial release of Axiom Verge 2 either, because he's concentrating on getting the game done, and it's fantastic, right? Like, that's absolutely my preference. I would much rather see Axiom Verge 2 than have a dedicated speedrun mode, but you know, he's planning on going back and adding it. I'm gonna do another glitch here, assuming I can make it work right. Bonk. Come on, go, and nope, didn't get that there. And this is a tough one to set up, unfortunately. Oh. Come on. No, you jerk. Oh, I didn't think about positioning. I think I'm kind of roughly in the right position, but... There, that's a little bit better. That should be a little bit better. A-do-do-do, a-do-do-do. Not quite. We'll take another run at it and go. Get another try. What are you doing, Trace? Get stuck in the wall. Or the ceiling, I guess. Oh, I'm not using the visual cue. I should use the visual cue. Yep. Go, and there. Nope. And wow. This is gonna be all fancy. All right, well, I guess we have everything that we need to do this kind of the normal way. We'll just fight the boss. I was gonna do a boss skip, but my flamethrower is better than the boss's flamethrower, so. That the boss skip that I was trying to do requires you to use the drone to push the Trace and that krill in a specific way so that they get stuck in that particular ceiling. And then basically manipulating Trace and the krill's position until Trace is totally encased inside the ceiling. And then once that's done, you walk the drone out of the room into a different room and then recall it to Trace's position. And that does something that's called a displacement warp. It basically shoots Trace up into the room that's up above, which then you can basically walk through a door that takes you into an area that is above the boss room, and just walk past where the boss is. On normal difficulty, there's not much advantage to doing this because the boss dies pretty quickly if you do the quick kill, and the quick kill is actually easier to learn than the setup for the glitch. And so, like, you don't actually save a meaningful amount of time by doing that. But if you're playing in hard mode, and so I recently got the 100% hard mode world record, that boss is really, really tough. It's really dangerous. Hey, this is the enhanced drone launcher. So our drone launch was pretty sad before, but now it goes far and it goes fast. So that's real nice. But that scorpion boss is really dangerous in hard mode for two reasons. Or actually 3 reasons. One reason is that everything deals more damage to Trace. Obviously, it's hard mode. And, ooh, Scissor Beam, I'm picking this up. This is a good weapon. Scissor Beam also goes through walls, and kind of goes like that. It's nice. It's a pretty good thing. Okay, we actually got all of the items here, so we're gonna go ahead and save warp. Everything has more health. Except for Trace, right? All the enemies have more health. Again, pretty run-of-the-mill hard mode. But also, bosses move faster. I think it's either 25% or 50% faster, and that includes their attacks. So that flamethrower attack that I locked the boss into completes much faster. So if you don't get the quick kill off fast enough, you die. You just die. And it's possible to do. I've done it. You can do the quick kill in hard mode, and it is technically possible to get it to work, but it is much tighter and much more brutal if you fail. Whereas like in normal mode, it is also possible to have the quick kill not complete during the lock cycle on the flamethrower, but it's much easier to adjust and like pull the kill off afterwards. So that glitch becomes a big. It's not faster. It's still not faster if you do the quick kill correctly on the first try, but it is infinitely safer. And it's not slower. So just do the glitch instead if you can, right? But it's a hard glitch to pull off. It's
yeah.
So you know, it's the lots of little decision making things. So if you're running this game in hard, or if you're running the randomizer in hard mode, right, again, that's like one of those things that's it's an option that's available to you to try and kind of complete things faster or more consistently or easier with a different kit than you might normally have, with like not the right stuff to do the quick kill, for example, which might be the case, because you never know what you're going to have at any particular point in time in randomizer. It's fun. Like, that's the fun of the randomizer, right?
Yeah.
It's a little interesting to me because I didn't really like randomizers for a while, and that was based on kind of an incorrect incorrect experience on my part. I tried to do the Zelda 3 Super Metroid randomizer as my very first randomizer.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that was a mistake. That was a wrong choice. There are too many items and too many checks and too many different ways to get at things. Passcode tool, yes, nice. Okay, this is a good find. So I wanna actually show off some of the extra. Oops, that's not the right button. Some of the extra stuff that passcode tool gives us access to in this, and they're all so in the default game in vanilla. You have an homage to Metroid in the form of Justin Bailey. So, you know, now Trace is wearing a Speedo, basically. And so that's pretty nice, right? We're gonna go ahead and clear that. But now there are a bunch of other cosmetic changes that you can do using the passcode tool. So there's this one, Secret Jacket, which gives us this nice blue coat and white outfit, which is actually really cool looking. I like Secret Jacket. There is this one. Call in Tracy. So now we're in a Dick Tracy outfit.
Ooh, nice.
And I think the other one that I know of, unless they've changed the passcode for this one, is okay, no, it does work. So this is a sort of Neo-inspired, or it was supposed to be a Neo-inspired outfit, and the passcode for this right now is See the Matrix. But it was pointed out that it looks a little bit more like Arnold in the Terminator. So that one might actually change. But so there are lots of kind of different fun aesthetic changes to play with. They're not randomized the way that a sprite in some of the more classic randos are, but they're there. Time was taken to add these sprites and animate them, and like even the Dick Tracy one, like the hat has special animation frames, and while you're falling, actually the hat falls off of Trace's head for like until like a few frames after you hit the ground, so it just like falls a couple of pixels above his head, which is fun. Ken still likes to think that it's Arnold. Okay, so we've got another health node fragment here and another health node fragment here. Just kind of like going through and checking all of the items. So this in this area is where we would normally have found the enhanced drone launcher. But we've already got that one, so we're just kind of like taking a look out for. There are a bunch of different checks here that we can take. I've kind of like purposefully gone out of order because I'm keeping in, for the most part, I'm keeping in line with the logic, with the exception of like that one out of logic check that I did back in Absu where I clipped through the floor. I kind of want to stick to the randomizer logic so that I can kind of show off what the randomizer is intending and not necessarily just like be like, hey, look, I can do bunches of glitches and check things out of logic. But out of logic checks are really, like if you're doing randomizer races, they become a really interesting way of moving around the world and kind of potentially snagging something nice early that you wouldn't normally have found. Ooh. I was trying to be slick there. So normally you don't check this mini dungeon until you have drone teleport and you can like send Trace through and you have one of the dash coats and you can move through it really quickly and alright, whatever. But for me right now, because I don't have any of those and I don't know where they are right now, and they're probably hiding in plain sight in one of the areas that I just didn't check yet. That's my kind of assumption. I'm kind of working with a little bit of some of the other options that I have available to me. So we're gonna go a couple of places that are unconventional, but that are still accessible with the stuff that we have. So normally I'm not supposed to be in this area until I have the trench coat, but it's possible to reach this area with all the stuff that I have, so you don't, strictly speaking, need it. You can go ahead and I think I may have lost some of the sound effects that are available to me at this particular moment. I think some of the damage sound effects turned off because I must have done something funky, but this is where I would have found extended drone launcher. There's nothing particularly interesting here. Oh wow, the door sounds are gone too. Yeah, damage sounds and door sounds. So this is actually not part of the randomizer. These are not randomizer introduced glitches. Those are real, honest to God game glitches. I can fix the problem by quitting the game and starting it again, but in order to do so, I would need to turn off the game feed. Is it okay if I do that for one quick second?
Sure. Go ahead.
Okay. I'm gonna go ahead and turn off the game feed. We're gonna exit the game. We're gonna start it back up again. Unfortunately, without the sound effects, it is a little bit. The world is a little bit drab around us. Unfortunately, I don't have quite the kit that I need in order to be able to make my way into Temple. But there we go. Our door sound effects are back. Praise the whatever equivalent of the Lord might exist in the religious culture of this game. And we're gonna go ahead and take our opportunity to go to some of the other areas and see what they have available to us. So I have a grappling hook and a drone, and that means that there's actually some stuff that I can check that I wouldn't normally be able to check. Yeah. And I'm going to show that off, actually, because I'm fancy. Praise the High Priestess. All right, sure, whatever. I like priestesses. Priestesses are real. You can give them a hug. And talk to them. So that's pretty nice. That's a thing that I like about priestesses. Praise Sudra? No, probably not. Actually, if I go in that way, that's gonna cause problems. Oh, but if I go in the other way, that's gonna cause problems. Oh, right, I can come in from the left. Don't mind me. Oh, I know what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna do something silly. It's gonna be fun, though. Because I have stuff that the game doesn't, strictly speaking, expect me to have at this point, there's some fun things that we can do with bosses, and particularly with not fighting bosses. We're gonna go ahead and grab a quick Save. I wish there was a quick save function. Praise the masters of patterns. Nah, the only master of patterns I know is kind of a jerk. Well, no, there's two of them. One of them's a jerk and the other one's not. Okay. So, hanging out in this area that we are about to enter is a boss. And normally we would have to fight that boss to get the lab coat, but we already have the lab coat. And we also have a grappling hook. And between these two items, we can basically just ignore the boss. So we're gonna do that. Hi, boss. I can actually probably just, I'm gonna go ahead and grab this. Cause I can. And then we'll just sneak in through there with our grappling hook.
Yeah, nice.
And grab this.
Yay.
More power. We are now extremely powerful. And then we can just kind of walk in here. And hey, here's our trench coat. So that's real nice. And then, you know what, actually... There's a place that we can check in this general area that we haven't checked yet. And so because that's there, and also because I am super overpowered at this point for what's going on, we're gonna go ahead and have some fun with this boss and actually kill the boss. We're not going to ignore the boss. Sorry, I was feeling peaceful, but it's gonna be faster for me to kill you than it is to at least nominally it would be faster. Oh yeah, there we go. Scissor beam can hit you. This is why I'm glad I picked up scissor beam. All right, cool.
Yay.
Farewell. Technically, you give us health, but I don't super care about that. So there are actually a couple of items in this area that we haven't checked. One that was accessible to me earlier, but I kind of got too excited about using my grappling hook and clipped out of Reddit. That's just a health node. I say just a health node. Health nodes are great. Let's get all the health nodes. But it's also not the item that I'm looking for. The item that I'm looking for at this point, there are basically two things that I want. And if I... One of them that I strictly speaking need, and one of them that I would just like to have. And that is basically what will take us to the end of the game when it's time to go. Oh, actually, there's another item down here that we can check. We have trench coat now. Oh, nope, that was a weapon that I didn't want. I didn't want that.
Aw.
All right, there. Now I don't have to see it again. And then we'll go ahead and check this down here. So we were technically able to check here as soon as we got drone, but we were sort of in a different part of the map. So I was like, we'll leave it for later. But now we're sort of here again. So that's just a health node fragment. We have plenty of health at this point, so I'm not going to stop for those anymore. And then over here on the other side is red coat. All right, so this was the item that we needed to be able to access the end of the game. So we're actually going to go ahead and try to beat the seed with the things that we have. So because this is masochist mode, we don't know that the drone teleport is in an area that would make it usable for us. Like it might be in the very last possible position in the game. And so the way that we're going to check that is by going to the very last possible position in the game and checking to see if it's there. If it's not there, then we'll just go ahead and beat the game anyway. And if it is there, then we'll have drone teleport. But we won't need it anymore too much because we'll have already passed the part that is hard without it. Assuming that I can do this trick right. But first things first, let's go to the last area of the game. Now, I'm glad that we did manage to find all of the coats. I'm glad that I found trench coat before I found red coat because, as I mentioned, increased damage reduction, and increased damage reduction is good. We like it. Makes me happy. It might make you happy. I don't know. I don't know what you're into.
That sounds pretty cool.
Yes. So without drone teleport, the way that we do this is basically we do something called a rocket jump here. And grapple onto that, and then grapple onto this. Normally, you're supposed to have drone teleport to make it up there. So it turns out that I'm actually not going to show off the funny stuff that I can do with drone and grapple. Instead, preferring to go ahead and beat this seed. We're going to go ahead and take an early save just in case something bad happens. Now, I'm playing on normal difficulty, and we have kind of a lot. We have much more power right now than you would have in any percent. Certainly not as much as you'd have in 100%, but that's okay. One thing about the red coat that's kind of important to note is that it has improved my dash distance, as well as improving the utility of my dash. My dash now breaks drillable blocks. And also deals damage to enemies, and also gives me copious amounts of iframes. So,
the dash looks so fun to use.
It is super fun. It also enables us to skip that boss by combining it with a grappling hook. Okay, well, you know what? I can kill you in the face, so I'm gonna. That is a range node. That's not something that I care about. We're gonna go ahead and check what's in here. Okay. And that is Address Disruptor 1. That is the weakest Address Disruptor in the game, and that's what I mean about, like, it doesn't do any validity checks. You don't have to get that before you get Address Disruptor 2 or anything like that. All right, I'm gonna do something funky with a drone. I'm gonna pop it here where that laser barrier was. And now I'm basically just going to walk my way out of the room. And we're just gonna be somewhere else now. I'm curious what item is here. Range node. I'll pick it up. Range node increases the distance that my projectiles travel, but I'm not really using a projectile weapon, so... In this room is the hardest boss of the game. This is Zetterhole. He is completely optional to fight, even in the vanilla game. There is no barrier that appears to hem you into the room, unlike almost every other boss in the game. The other exception to that is Sentinel, the boss that I skipped at the very beginning of this area. You're not supposed to be able to skip Sentinel, but you are supposed to be able to just walk out of his room if you decide you're, like, not having fun with the fight at this particular moment and you need to go, like, heal or something. What is down here? That's another range. Okay, so we didn't find drone teleport anywhere in the last area on the way to the big trick, so we really are going to try to perform it. And boy, is it a doozy. So we're going to go ahead and proceed into the second to last actual room of the game, a room lovingly called Disco Hell. It is called Disco Hell because of these things. These laser things that fire rainbow whatevers. Okay, so now it is not possible for me to just, like, rocket jump or grapple up through this. It was designed for you to have drone teleport, but there is a trick It is a little difficult. It's fairly precise. I've done it before, but I am not one of the people who is best at it, so... no, that's not right. It's too far to the left. There we go.
Yo, nice.
So that is the Disco Hell rocket jump. It is the only thing that you can do to get into this area if you do not have drone teleport. So we're going to check this area. What is in this vent? It is not drone teleport, I can tell you that. It is a power node fragment. So somewhere else out in the world is drone teleport. So if you weren't able to do that trick, you would be able to go somewhere else, find drone teleport, and come back here to finish the game. But we're going to go ahead and finish this seed as low percent intends it to be, which is without drone teleport. Though actually in low percent runs, you actually get drone teleport. It's very hard to skip drone teleport in low percent, and it doesn't actually save you any percentage.
Oh, interesting.
For complicated reasons. Yeah, so the game calculates percentage and displays it in integer quantities, and we're also going to cheese the final boss. And every item that you pick up is like I want to say 0.8%. And it rounds. It doesn't round down. It just rounds. So if you're 0.5% or over, then you get bumped up to the next thing. And the world record low percent run has 10.4% of the items. And skipping drone teleport only enables you to skip one additional item, which puts you at 9.6%, which gets rounded up to 10%. And it is counted as the same percentage in low percent rankings.
Oh.
Yeah, so even though you skip an additional item, you would have to skip yet one more item in order for it to matter. So if there was some way for us to skip either the lab coat or the trench coat, I think those are kind of the two most likely candidates. That would be it. Pretty much. You get the grappling hook. Oh, I didn't show the stats screen, but it has the normal stats on it. It actually does. You know what? Here, hold on a second. Since I did save at the last possible save point, I can actually beat the seed again and show the stat screen. I should actually do that because it has showing what the game actually tells you at the end of any given randomizer run is actually, I think, somewhat useful and interesting information, because it displays the difficulty that you played the game on, the progression logic that you used, what percentage of item and map you got, the completion time, and the seed. So in game, there is also a way to verify if somebody submits a randomizer run or competes in a randomizer race, that they were using all of the settings that they said that they were using, which is really nice. You don't need any extra equipment, basically. And one of the things that I think that they're working on is an in-game tracker, because we did have a third-party tracker that basically hooked into the game's memory and would check to see what stuff you had and what stuff you didn't have. But because the new randomizer both changes the address, the memory addresses of things, because there's new code and things are stored in different places and everything. And also, the new randomizer changes the item pools for different kinds of progression logic. So not all of the same items are present in every, it's not the same number of health nodes or power nodes or fragments that gets changed up. It's requires a little bit more effort to track things appropriately. So you can see difficulty normal, progression masochist. Here's my total time, which is a little over an hour and 15 minutes. 42% of the items, 51% of the map, 4 deaths, and there's our seed.
GG.
Thank you. And just to kind of show really quickly, if I set it to default progression and I start a new game on the same seed, you'll see some of the same stuff, but it's probably going to be different in important ways. Let's see what we find. So to start with, we find the same weapon. Like I said, there's guaranteed to be in default logic, there is always guaranteed to be a gun type weapon, a ranged weapon in this first slot. In advanced, you can find short range weapons in that slot as well as I think the drill you can find there, because the drill does damage enemies. And or maybe that's only in Masochist. In Masochist, you can definitely find either the drill or the grappling hook in that first spot. The grappling hook damages enemies and it triggers switches, so it is technically usable as a weapon. So the first quote-unquote weapon you find can be the grappling hook, which is a whole thing. Seeds that give you items that take you to the end game very quickly are god seeds. And I think actually, like, there's several of them pre-computed by the dev team for use. The top low percent runners have completed god seeds in a very short period of time with only 3% of the items in the game, which is something that you can only do in the randomizer. Okay, so here, right, instead of picking up hypoatomizer, which was the thing that I got, in default logic, you get a much more powerful weapon here, which is the flamethrower, right? So now I have this, and I'm gonna bind this here. So already item placements are a little bit different. Right, there's some difference there. And the game is going to assume that I can't get to any given place without the stuff that the game intended me, like the vanilla game intends you to have to get there. So it's going to assume no glitches are possible. It's going to assume that rocket jumps don't exist. It's going to assume that you can't use the grapple to swing through walls. It's going to assume that, there's... So there's a... I actually didn't show this because we never actually... Well, we did go to Z, but I didn't really show it before. I'm going to see if I can get to an appropriate place to show that. But there's... Thank you, Ken. I hope you have a great night too. There's a jump that you're not supposed to be able to come back from, that you're normally supposed to, in the normal progression of the game, you're supposed to get the grappling hook, and then like you get high jump and the lab coat, and then eventually you get the grappling hook. And the grappling hook is what's supposed to allow you to go back over that jump back toward the first area of the game. And if you're a speedrunner, normally, like, actually the way that you do that is you just don't save until you want to go back to that area, until the point in the game where you want to go back to that area, and then you save warp all the way back to the first save point. And you skip getting the grappling hook. Or you get the grappling hook, but instead of using it to go back that way, you go and use it to do shenanigans. Like I did. And it turns out, as it happens, that you can make that jump with just the high jump. You do not need a grappling hook. I didn't actually need to drill there. We're going to respawn at start because it's a faster travel and I don't care about that power node fragment. But so we picked up a drill. That's pretty much the same thing as before. We're going to go ahead and check around at some of the like various other things that are available to us, but for the most part, we're probably going to find a couple of similar things and a couple of different things. But so, like, the default logic doesn't know that you can make that jump, even though you can make it as soon as you get high jump. See, there's a syringe there instead of a range node. Equally useless, but different item placements. So you can play the same seed on progressively harder logics and kind of find where your comfort zone is one of the big ways in which you can do things in this. But yeah, so default logic just like doesn't know any of that stuff, whether it's a glitch or not, if it's speed tech in some way, shape, or form. It just doesn't take that into account in default, but it starts taking it into account once you hit the button for advanced. And so the item placements will be different in advanced mode as well, because it's going through and correcting initial item placements by saying, okay, well, you know, there's a different set of stuff that we think that you need to get from place to place. And that can change the character of a seed pretty dramatically, because once those swaps start getting made, here's Address Disruptor 2. That's in a different place than it was before. Once those swaps start getting made, you know, it really does change a lot. Ooh, that thing hit me through the door, which is a thing that can happen, but not something that usually happens with that particular enemy. Oh, dude. Forgive me. I'm yawning a little bit. But yeah, a lot of love and care was put into this. Heat Seeker, I don't need that. I'm gonna skip Heat Seeker again. That was somewhere completely different last time. There's my drone. That was Grappling Hook in Masochist. Game assumes that I need the drone to get quite a lot of things. I have that, so I can still go under the boss. And yeah, I mean, that's the randomizer. It's not as complex as a lot of other randomizers. Oof. And toast. That's actually going to send me all the way back to the beginning of the game.
Oh no.
Yeah, because I didn't bother saving. So, you know, if there's a particular seed, if there's a custom seed that anybody would like me to like run for 25 minutes at the end of this, I certainly can. But otherwise, you know, I'm happy to call it a wrap there. I hope that this has been interesting for folks. I think that this randomizer is a really lovely piece of work and injects a lot of freshness and fun into the game. And in fact, using this randomizer, I learned new speed tech. And found new low percent strats. Like the randomizer is actually the reason why we found that it's possible to skip drone teleport in low percent, thus opening up the potential for the road to a 9% that is RTA viable.
Oh, nice. That's awesome.
Yeah, so like if we can skip one more item, then you know it's viable. But right now TAS has the only sub 10 low percent. So, because TAS can skip one of the Address Disruptor items that's normally required. Womp womp.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, so for more delightful Axiom Verge content, the AVSR Axiom Verge speedrunning, or it's not the AVSR Discord anymore, it became the official Axiom Verge Discord. Is out there. It is the resource that's available on our speedrun.com page. It is also a place that you can find information about the randomizer. We have a whole set of channels devoted to it. So if you're interested in playing it, if you're interested in giving it a shot, that's where you can find instructions on how to set it up if you have it on Steam or Epic Games. Everybody's real friendly. And yeah. Thank you so much for having me on.
That was a lot of fun, yeah. I feel like I'll definitely, like, I haven't beaten this game yet, but after I beat it, I feel like I might want to try out this randomizer, because it does definitely seem like a lot of fun, and I like how much, like, care was put into it by just I like how this is how much care was put into it.
Yeah, they did a really good job. And I have to say, I feel like a little bit bad because when they were first developing it, the word was like, we're not going to take into account any of the exploits at all in any mode. And I was a little upset about that because I was like, I want my glitch logic. And I feel kind of bad for getting upset about that. And they did eventually decide that they were going to put some of those, like take some of those into account. But like even without it, it's so much fun to play. It's a really, really good way to enjoy the game without the pressures of like trying to winnow down my any percent time by another 25 seconds or something like that. It's great. I'm so glad that they put this together. Great. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
So thanks so much, Sabera, for showing that off. That was definitely a lot of fun, and be sure to give Sabera a follow.
Aw, thank you.
There's no run.
It's been a pleasure presenting for all of you tonight. So I do hope to see you again real soon. Always fun to be on Edge Case.
Oh yeah, that was a lot of fun, and yeah. So I think that'll be it for stream today. So I think I don't know if we have anything much coming up, but I think we'll be rating Leggy Starstream. She's playing, Leggy Starstream. She's playing Final Fantasy IV. So thanks everyone for watching.